Salam students, let's begin with the class 8 geography. We are doing the revision of chapter number 3, mineral and power resources. Today we are doing the second part of our revision here. In our first session, these are the topics that you have learnt about: introduction, you saw the types of minerals, distribution of minerals, uses of minerals. Then we saw conservation of minerals. Then we just started with the topic power resources. In that, we saw power resources plays a very important role in our lives, right? And we saw it has been classified as, it has been categorized as conventional sources of energy and non-conventional resources of energy. Now we'll begin with the conventional sources of energy. Now let's understand the meaning of this first. Conventional sources. Conventional sources of energy are those which have been in common use for a long time. Okay. If I'll talk about the non-conventional sources of energy have generally been identified in the recent past. So this is the difference between the two. Now, in conventional sources of energy, you will be learning about the firewood and the fossil fuels. These are the two main conventional energy sources. Now, let's begin with the firewood. It is widely used for cooking and heating. And you know very well, in our country, more than 50% of the energy used by villagers comes from firewood. Now let's go through the advantages and disadvantages of firewood. See, first we'll go through the advantages of firewood. It is easily accessible, right? You can get it easily, and it provides energy to a large number of people. And whereas if we talk about the disadvantages, time consuming, collecting that firewood, the wood for the firewood is really time consuming, and it is polluting also. And the third one is it promoting greenhouse effect, and the most important thing, deforestation, right? Then only we will get the fire for burning it, correct? So it leads to deforestation. These are the disadvantages. Now next, that is the fossil fuels. So remains of plants and animals which were buried under the earth for millions of years got converted by the heat and pressure into fossil fuels. Now in fossil fuels, we will be learning about the coal, petroleum and natural gas. These are the main sources of conventional energy. Let's begin with the topic coal first. This is, see, we know this is the most abundantly found fossil fuel. It is used as a domestic fuel in industries such as iron and steel, steam engines, and even to generate electricity. So electricity that we get from coal, it is called as the thermal power. Okay. Now, the coal that we are using today was formed, it was formed millions of years ago when giant ferns and swamps got buried under the layers of earth. That is the reason coal is referred to as buried sunshine. You may get this in give reasons also why the coal is referred to as the buried sunshine, right? That is because of this. The reason is this. Now, let's go through the advantages and disadvantages of coal. The advantages of coal includes it is extensively available. Okay, and the second advantage is it is an efficient conversion to electricity. Now coming to disadvantages, it is a polluting source. Okay, so it will lead to pollution. And the second disadvantage is the bulky means it's too heavy for transportation, it's bulky. So that is a disadvantage of coal. Now the next topic that we have here is petroleum. Before starting with the topic petroleum, just the word petroleum is derived from the Latin word petra, means it means rock, and oleum means oil. So petroleum means rock oil. Okay. Now the petrol that keeps your car running as well as the oil that keeps your cycle from squeaking both begin as a thick black liquid called petroleum, right? It is found between the layers of rocks and is drilled from oil fields that is located in offshore and coastal areas. So it is drilled from the oil fields located in the offshore and the coastal areas, and it produces a variety of products like diesel, petrol, kerosene, wax, plastics, and lubricants. So, petroleum and its derivatives are called as black gold as they are very valuable. Now, let's understand the advantages and disadvantages of petroleum. In advantages of petroleum, easier to transport through tankers. You all have seen that petroleum is transferred through tankers, okay? And it is the basis of petrochemical industry. And whereas the disadvantages, depletion of oxygen due to oil spillage and gas leakage. You have learnt about the gas leakages problem. This is what like if any oil spillage and gas leakage takes place, it leads to the depletion of oxygen. The oxygen levels comes down there. Now pollutants released caused acid rain, and even exploration of new fuel is not easy. These are the disadvantages of petroleum. Now, the next is natural gas. Natural gas is formed with petroleum deposits and is released when crude oil is brought to the surface. It can also be used as a domestic and industrial fuel. Children, here I can give you the good example of CNG, that is the compressed natural gas. Is a popular eco-friendly automobile fuel as it causes less pollution than petroleum and diesel. You have heard many auto rickshaws and many they prefer to have the CNG rather than the petrol and diesel, right? Now, the sharp increase in our consumption of fossil fuels has led to the before coming to the topic, let's go through the advantages and disadvantages of natural gas first. Advantages of natural gases: it is easier to transport through pipelines and even cleaner than oil and coal, and even it is cheaper than oil. Now, let's see the disadvantages of this. It is very inflammable. Inflammable means it catches fire very easily and not easy to carry, and even sometimes becomes dangerous on extreme heat, and it freezes in extreme cold. Now, the next is hydel power. Rainwater stored in dams is made to fall from heights. The falling water flows through pipes inside the dam over turbine blades placed at the bottom of the dam. Then that moving blades then turn the generator to produce electricity. This is called as the hydroelectricity. The hydroelectricity, it means you can get it in answer the following. What is hydroelectricity? So you should be able to answer that. Actually, diagrams for all this I have already given you in the main video. So go through that. Even that is there in the textbook also. So the moving blades that turn the generator to produce electricity, that is called as hydroelectricity, right? So 1/4 of the world's electricity is produced by hydel power. Now let's go through the advantages and disadvantages of this. In advantages it is non-polluting, the very first thing, and the second is it promotes irrigation and fishing, and the third one is it's very cheap. And now let's see the disadvantages of this. Displacement of local community, and it inundates means what? It means overestimate or overpower, overload. It inundates low-lying regions, and whereas the setup is very expensive, so it is expensive to have the setup of hydropower. Now, after the conventional sources of energy, let's start with non-conventional sources of energy. There is need for using non-conventional sources such as the solar energy, wind energy, tidal energy, which are renewable. So that is the reason, like there is a apart from this, we will see the other non-conventional sources of energy also. Let's understand each and everything in detail now. Let's begin with the first non-conventional source of energy, that is solar energy. Sun's heat and light energy can be felt by us every day, right? Solar energy trapped from the sun can be used in solar cells to produce electricity. And whereas we know many of these cells are joined into solar panels to generate power for heating and lighting purpose. Now let's go through the advantages and disadvantages of solar energy. In advantages, it is inexhaustible, right? Sun means solar energy we are getting from sun, so we can say that it is inexhaustible, and even it is non-polluting. Now let's see the disadvantages. It is very expensive to have the solar panels and all this. The cost is too much, that is, it is expensive. And diffuse source, diffuse means it is spreaded over the wide area, over the large area, so that is the reason that source gets wasted there. Diffuse means it is spreaded over the large area. So solar energy is also used in solar heaters, solar cookers, solar dryers, beside being used for the community lighting and traffic signals. Now the next non-conventional source of energy is the wind energy. We know very well wind is an inexhaustible source of energy, right? We can say in modern time windmills, the high speed winds rotate the windmill which is connected to a generator to produce electricity. Now children, let's go through the advantages and disadvantages of this. Advantages includes here, it is non-polluting. It does not pollute, and even the low cost production of electricity once set up. Even it is safe and clean. Now disadvantages, see, as the windmills are installed, that's the reason that it creates a noise pollution. And setting up the windmills, that is very costly of event, so it is very costly. Windmills costly to set up, and it disturbs radio and TV reception, and even it is harmful to the birds. As the windmills are moving continuously, it is harmful to our birds, also to our environment. Now the next is nuclear power. Let's move to the next non-conventional source of energy, that is nuclear power. Nuclear power is obtained from energy stored in the nuclei of atoms of naturally occurring radioactive elements like uranium and thorium. These fuels undergo nuclear fission in nuclear reactors and emit power. This is what it generates the power to us. Now let's understand the advantages and disadvantages of this. In advantages, we can say it emits large amount of energy, and whereas in disadvantages, it generates radioactive waste, and it is very expensive also. Now the next is geothermal energy. Now geothermal energy means the energy, the heat energy that is obtained from the earth is called as geothermal energy. The temperature in the interior of the earth rises steadily as we go deeper. We know this very well, right? You have already learned in your lower classes about the layers of the earth. As we go deeper, the temperature is rising up, it increases. So sometimes this heat energy may surface itself in the form of hot springs. This heat energy can be used to generate power. So geothermal energy in the form of hot springs has been used for cooking, heating and bathing for several years. That has been used in the ancient times also, and even in the present also now. Now let's understand the advantages and disadvantages of geothermal energy. In advantages, we can say it's clean, eco-friendly and always available. As it is natural, it is always available. And whereas disadvantages, we can say it is located far away from cities and so costly to transport the electricity. Then the next is the tidal energy. Now tidal, from the word itself, like energy generated from tides, that is called as the tidal energy. Tidal energy can be harnessed by building dams at narrow openings of the sea. Harness means to control something, like that can be installed there by building dams at narrow openings of the sea. Now See children, diagram of tidal energy has been given in even for the geothermal energy, that has been already given in the main sessions when when we were learning about the chapter thoroughly. But now here only the main important points have been given to you. For diagrams you can refer the previous slides. Okay. Now let's go through the advantages and disadvantages of this. In advantages we can say it is non-polluting. It doesn't pollute and it is inexhaustible. Whereas in disadvantages, as it is connected to tides, so it destroys wildlife habitat and even it is difficult to harness. Then the next, that is the last non-conventional source of energy, is the biogas. The organic waste such as the dead plant and animal material, animal dung and kitchen waste, which can be converted into a gaseous fuel, that is called as the biogas. Now the organic waste is decomposed by bacteria in biogas digesters to emit biogas, which is essentially a mixture of methane and carbon dioxide. In biogas, it is an excellent fuel for cooking and lighting, and it produces huge amount of organic manure each year. Now let's go through the advantages and disadvantages of biogas. Advantages, if we'll say, it is the cost is very low cost, and it is easy to operate and even makes use of bio waste, right? And in the disadvantages we can say it causes greenhouse effect. So children, here today we have completed with the second topic, that is the power resources of this chapter. In power resources we learnt about the non-conventional sources of energy as well as the conventional sources of energy. So today we have completed the power resources, conventional sources of energy and non-conventional. Okay. Now children, here we have completed with the geography chapter number 3, that is mineral and power resources. So revision of all the chapters that is there for this portion of the first semester we have done. Now in the next session children, I'll be teaching you about the paper pattern as well as the map location, and we have the new activity, that is assertion and reason. So till then, go through all the slide revision videos as well as the main presentations and prepare yourself well for the exam. Take care children, and all the best for your preparation.